Hello, my name is Desmond Lynch. I'm 26 years old and I'm a filmmaker. This is a special behind the scenes commentary episode on the production of my short film, SHOWTIME. In this episode, I'm interviewing Thomas Alone, who was the director of photography, also known as the DOP or camera operator for the short film. Without further ado, let's begin. Hello, my name is Desmond Lynch. I'm 26 years old and I'm a filmmaker. Today I'm interviewing a very special guest, and that brings me to our first question. Who are you and what do you do?
Hello, my name's Thomas Alone. I was the DP on Showtime. I'm a cinematographer.
Right. Yeah. And thanks very much for finally gracing us with your presence. Just for background, guys, this is like one of the final cast and crew interviews, mainly because I couldn't get a hold of Tom. It got to the point I messaged him every day. I texted him, I WhatsApped him, I messaged him on Instagram, I sent him emails. He didn't respond.
The emails got through to me more, to be honest.
Yeah, of course. You know, I don't know how fucking humiliating, Tom, to be ghosted by a 19-year-old. It's like, you know, it's not
21. What do you mean? 19?
Oh, 21. Okay, that's okay then. That's okay. Yeah, that's okay.
No, I was doing my coastal Ireland trip. So I was away.
Okay, so
I probably could have done it in, to be honest, but anyway, yeah. So it's all good.
I was away, but I could have done it, but I didn't. So yeah. But you know, it was funny as well because like, you know, I was like trying to organize like a thing with you, and I came home one day. It was like late at night, and I heard a voice call me Des across the street, and I turned around and it's you over across the street, and I was about to enter my house, and I just walked out to the gate, and I thought, oh, Tom's gonna walk over the street to talk to me, but he didn't because there was cars coming back and down, so we just started yelling at each other across the street, and he's like, I'm available, what days are good for you next week? And I was like, any, and I was like, I'm available like Tuesday, Monday, maybe. And then like we just started yelling at each other back and forth the street. We had to like repeat ourselves because again, cars going by and people were walking around giving me funny looks. So yeah, it was interesting. And I was like, okay, Monday, Tuesday I might do. And I'd contact you Monday, Tuesday. And he's like, oh, I'm unavailable Monday, Tuesday. And I was like, whoa, fuck me, like, you know.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It is what it is.
But yes, it is what it is. We're here now.
But yeah, he's finally here. The boy prince has finally arrived. So yeah, awesome. So that leads us to our next question. What made you interested in coming on board for Showtime?
Okay, well, first of all, the script. I thought out of all the scripts I've read so far, it was one of the most like down-to-earth, kind of Belfast-based, shows what life is like, kind of just like a true original Belfast story. So yeah, I guess that, and also the talking to the camera interests me quite a lot. Obviously there's not a lot person-to-person dialogue. You know, most of it is to camera, which was very Fleabag style, which I also like. So I guess that's what pulled me into it. Yeah.
Oh, it's very involved, like camera-wise. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, if I recall correctly, the first person who actually read the script was Lucy, our art director, and I think I want to say the second person was you, because I think we were on a project because we met on the Unholy Lands film by Paddy Duffy. That was like our first introduction, and we started off okay, and then our relationship immediately soured because, like, you know, you're like a giant egomaniac, but you know, and like, you know, like that's how we met and we worked on another project and a few more, and I think on the second like big project we worked on, I was just bored. It was like, Tom, you want to read a script I wrote? And you're like, yeah, sure, why not? And I sent it to you, and the next day you were like, oh, I really like that. It's very like, visual, and like there's a lot of like, you know, like references like to camera and lighting and stuff like that, and like, you know, it was like very fun, and because like I was interested in working with you just because like you did such a great job on the Unholy Lands, and you're
thank you very much.
Kind of like Lucy, where you could do like a lot with very little. So
the nature of
so that's kind of like what I was interested in, like doing Showtime, because like Showtime was like done very, very shoestring budget, and I thought, like, I needed a guy who could, like, you know, excel at that type of stuff. So I thought Tom's the guy. And you're gonna be glad you know, this is being recorded, because, you know, I'll give you a compliment now. I think you're probably one of the best camera people I've ever worked with.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Des.
Well, it's true because like I've done things since, and I'll ask a camp person to do something, and they're like, oh, I can't do this, and they'll give me reasons and all this stuff, and I'm like listening, nodding my head, and I was like, back of my head, I'm like, Tom could do it, like
Yeah, okay, okay, that's good. That's good.
Tom could do it, like but it is what it is. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, great. It was great to have you on board for Showtime, which leads us to our next question: what camera gear and lighting equipment did you use?
Yeah. So like you're saying, shoestring budget. Um, I have my red Komodo that I bought, so I have my own camera gear. Lenses though we were borrowing from people, so I think it was I think we only had the 35 and 25.
At the
I
time,
want to
yeah.
say 75 now.
We had the 15 millimeter as well, I think, or the no, it was a 75, wasn't it?
No, yeah, that was 75. Yeah, no, I think it was 25, 35, 75. So I think we mainly used the 25 and 75 due to the space. But when it came to the lighting equipment, it was purely whatever we can get our hands on from whoever, basically. So, I mean, we had one main aperture, Amaran, again, that's a really dirt cheap light. Couple tubes for the inside, and C-stands. Like it's as basic as you can basically do it to get you by. But with the equipment we used, I mean, we were able to pull it off inside the house with the aperture, with the tubes, and then outside only using the aperture as a gigantic, we call it like street lamp type effect. So yeah, everything we wanted to do, we were able to do with the equipment. So the whole idea that you need like a billion lights and a billion different, camera related things is a bit of a myth to me. But yeah, so that was the equipment we used again. Shoestring, not a lot, but got us by.
Yeah, and you use like a lot of like what I call like practical on-set lights, like for example like lamps
Yes.
and stuff like that, which
Yeah. Yes.
Lucy provided as
That would
well.
be my main thing for every shoot is, especially if it's inside and because it was nighttime the whole time. Who the hell doesn't have their lamps on or whatever. I mean the kitchen scene. I remember we were like pre-lighting and pre-visualizing before the shoot. How are we gonna light everything? How are we gonna go about it? We were testing stuff in the kitchen and it just wasn't having the effect until we were like, what, let's turn the lights on. We got soften them a bit, and then that should be it. So looking at each scene, how would it actually be in real life? Usually, you don't have lamps in your kitchen, where you don't have deep blue or a street lamp. Maybe you do have a street light coming in, but most times you just turn your lights on. Also, living room, bedroom, all that type of stuff. Of course, go balls to the walls when it comes to lamps. So that was usually like the main source, like the living room stuff for the hallway scene. Again, it was all motivated by, let's say, the hallway. You would obviously have a hallway light in or on, sorry, that would then allow us to then get the Amaran, shine it more, emphasize everything more, make it look better than just having a light on. But again, it's always just looking at how would it be realistically, and then how can I then emphasize that through that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Roger Deakins method, where there's like a logical like explanation for the light source.
Yeah, it can't just be it can't be just lights coming from nowhere. So I mean, another example, the outside when Anya's walking to the house. Again, we only have street lamps. There's nothing more. So I'm just going to emphasize the street lamps. Obviously, if you're shooting the street lamps just on their own, it usually isn't enough, because obviously the world doesn't revolve around film. So it's a nice background, but you then need to emphasize that with proper lights that actually bring the exposure up and bring to the level you actually need. So yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah, so I think one of the main challenges, especially for like the kitchen scenes and the hallway ones, is because the location, my flat in Dundas Avenue, there was these like, I want to say fire exit like lights, but they weren't
green fire exit.
They weren't green. They were like yellow like lights, and you got to set. I was like, oh, that's like a very bright light. Can we turn that off? And I was like, no. I've been living in this place for like almost a year, and like I can't turn these fucking lights off.
Yeah. Bin bags we brought in to take them as simple as you need. I mean, yeah, when it came to stuff we didn't want, I mean, lights that couldn't turn off or lights we need to, diffuse, bin bags, or just some type of sheet diffusion would work. But I mean, we did, I want to say a day of, like, coming to your house and testing everything out, going through, blocking everything, seeing where it would go. And I remember doing it, and then just something was not right. Like in the back of my head, I was like, I'm not really liking where this is going in the sense of like how we're shooting this. This isn't what I was like visualizing. Um, but then I said to Macy, Patrick, the night before, okay, everything we just did, just completely forget about it. Like completely forget about everything we just did there. And on the day, we're just gonna figure it out as we go along, like a complete kind of guerrilla type filmmaking. Okay, this is our scene. How do we shoot it? What's the best way we can do it? Type thing. And from that, I think it kind of gives a very nice kind of. Obviously, it's good to plan and plan as much as you can to get like the best out of it. But there is also a nice side of spontaneity and kind of um, spontaneity, but it kind of just gets the creative juices flowing a bit more when you're like faced with the problem. Okay, here's your scene. You've got okay this problem, that problem. You need to cover this. You can't shoot that, and you only have this amount of space to light. Then obviously you got to think a bit harder than just kind of okay, well this is what we did before, so we'll just copy that and kind of just be fine with it. So I'm glad we did that, but again, like we were saying, with how little lighting we had, I think we did pretty well with the locations in mind and how it looks.
Yeah. So like
yeah.
the kitchen was definitely, from what I recall, like the hardest one to light, just because like again there was like that big light you couldn't like get rid of, and it was like such a narrow area, and it's like kind of hard to like find like in source lights that make sense. So
I mean, with the kitchen again, like I was saying, we were trying to figure out ideas and how to light that until we were just like, okay, we'll just turn the kitchen lights on or a couple of them on, diffuse some of them. And then I think I want to say, just for a bit of extra fill on shot and on you, we just use the tube light on the fridge, like kind of shot reverse shot. Then I think we had a another tube light way in the background, again just to emphasize a bit more.
Yeah, behind the second fridge that was there for some reason.
Yeah. So again, it is just a little bit of extra light, to emphasize what was already there.
Yeah, it was like because we used the, from what I recall, like we ended up using like the actual like practical like light from the what do you call it, the fire escape thing. And you can see that in one of the shots, and that provides what was it, the fill light or something like that.
Yes,
and then there was like some lights outside to give like a nice like blue orange hue to like the windows and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then there was like I think one RGB like put up to mimic like the orange yellow hue down by like the second fridge, just to brighten up the background. And then I think one or two like just like tubes just to help like brighten up faces.
Again, it's just small things like that. The main gist of it all though is the kitchen lights, on its own, maybe not the best, but again, as a basis and kind of, the groundworks to the scene, that's what you have to work on. And in those situations where it is kind of like how small the location is, how narrow it is, we're having two people, a cameraman inside, like it is a small space, you can't really be going beyond that, if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
You kind of do have to keep that stuff small, but again, it works.
Yeah, and speaking of like small spaces, so I originally wanted to do the 35 just because I think I heard somewhere that, like, that movie like Call Me By Your Name was like shot on the 35 and it looks very naturalistic. Yeah. But I suggested that to you, and you said, well, like the 25 is better just because like it's going to be a very small area and you're going to get more out of the 25. So I think we're keen on shooting almost the entire thing in the 25.
I want to say so because again, with the Komodo, there's a crop factor of like 1.6. So like a 35 would actually be like give or take a 50, and a 25 would be give or take like a, want to say 35-40 mil. So there's a crop factor. If we were shooting full frame, definitely the 35 would have been the lens basically. But because you obviously have that, cropped in factor and the space you need as much, the 25 was the best. But then I mean for the times when we did have space, so I want to say the hallway, the living room, outside, just to keep the visual language the same, bar any like close-up shots, which we used the 75. We just kept the 25. I kind of like for main shots, or kind of like if you're looking at a whole film, you obviously have your wides, your mids, your close-ups type things. So close-up 75. I do prefer having a slightly wider lens for most things. So a slightly wider lens close up, a slightly wider lens wide, you can kind of do a lot more. Whereas, for example, if we put the 35 on in the kitchen, we'd just be that one bit too close, which like you kind of need. But at least on the 25, you would have that space originally, and then a bit more space to move back, a bit more space to move in. You can generally get the same frames as well, obviously, on a 25-35. Similar in that way. But yeah, once we decided with the kitchen, because of how small it was, we just decided to use the 25 because it keeps everything the same. Obviously, like I was saying, there's not the biggest difference, but it is kind of easier just to say 25 for most. We can move in, we can move out, and then 75 for the close-ups. 75 we used for the close-ups and Sean and Anya in the kitchen scene.
Yeah, we only used because we were doing Anya's coverage, and like you were standing right beside Sean, and then Sean was like going. He has the action of like very angrily like grabbing the fridge door open and slamming it shut, and he did it several times, and his elbow bumped into the camera and almost knocked it out of your hands. And I remember the look in your face. You're like, oh, and like after that, you're like, I'm gonna change lens. So like we changed like to the 75, which like punched in a lot. So like it looked close up, but like the camera could actually be quite far away.
Yes. And again, I think when it comes to visual language, if you're viewing these as, I think the shots we got, it was like a general mid on both, and then we had a full on kind of like head to bottom of neck close up. It's just easier that way. Close up, use a close lens, simple as that. But yeah, it just keeps the visual language all the same throughout the shoot. So I think like overall with the whole short, it is very cohesive when it comes to like the lighting and the frames.
Yeah, I'd say like the only thing that wouldn't be cohesive was just like the shot of Anya like on a 75 coming in through darkness. I said that too. Like I know like lighting wise it doesn't make sense because like logically there's supposed to be like lamps and there's supposed to be like a window back there. But I just thought like vibe wise it'd look so fucking cool if you just like came from darkness and like stepped into the light. That makes sense.
But then you see like with those types of decisions, yes, obviously the way, like obviously your house isn't how we shot it type thing. Like obviously there's a living room in the middle to the location that we were shooting in, which was the living room. With that type of stuff, I've never noticed it in the sense of like, oh wait, no, like obviously I said on the day like there should be light and blah blah blah, but like that type of stuff, I think, if you want you to come out from the darkness, it looks better, it just looks cool. That kind of trumps continuity in that type of sense. So yeah.
I think the kitchen took a while. I mean, you and Patrick, our camera assistant, did a great job, and I think it's just like there's only so much like two men can do. So like here on out, I always try to get like like at least like a 3-man camera or 3-person camera team, just because like if you have like more people, like this thing get done faster. So it's worth spending that extra money just to help stuff. The same way like I'd recommend like getting a boom op for a sound mixer, like getting like a 3rd person on your camera team, or like if you can afford it even more, will just like things just get done quicker.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, I agree. But again, location in mind, I think. Well, yeah, I think there's positives and negatives to that. Where it's like, in most circumstances, yes, the more people you have, the quicker it's done. But I kind of like that we had a fairly small crew for this, mainly in the sense because it's just how incredibly small the location was. Obviously, Soundies are upstairs, Mercer downstairs, doing the boom, Lucy doing art, but everyone's kind of like moving in, everyone's, kind of moving in together. So I think we found like a perfect in between, like a happy balance with crew and like efficiency, so yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the kitchen was the hardest one to light. I think like I remember like the window being relatively okay because like you had like the lamps and you had like you're by a
Yeah,
window, so you just fill that in with one amaran to mimic
yeah,
the street light, and then one RGB
yeah,
to mimic the cop cars.
yeah,
And I remember like at one point like you're setting up lights and like you show me like like oh like is this like good enough, and like it's a very slow red and blue, and I was like no, it has to be like faster, just because if you ever see like cop cars like sirens in real life, they are like blinding like
yeah,
really fast and as well. So I wanted to mimic that type of energy.
yeah,
Uh, well, in Northern Ireland, like cop cars, like they aren't like red and blue, but I thought it transferred better for international audiences instead of just blue.
yeah, just yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
No,
yeah,
I mean, well, that type of stuff was, I mean, like the outside scene again was, how I emphasize this. I remember we didn't have like a power blocks, so we just had loads of extensions. So I was wrapping like three extensions from your house over the street to like top left or top right, sorry, off your street. Um, Again, whip it up on a gigantic C stand, blast it through with just like that slash of light. Obviously, you don't see the C stand. Um, when you look at that shot, it does just look like a real good lamp. I don't think people would be looking at that thinking anything other than they just shot it naturally, which is always the goal for me. Like I always just want everything to be as natural as possible. I don't want like obviously you're saying about the kitchen, we have so many lights, like that type of stuff. But again, when you look at it, it's coming across like fairly natural. Um, there are some things like for example the living room scene where it's natural in a sense, but we kind of took a unnaturalistic approach. Again with the whole Anya looking outside, looking at the police. So obviously we've got our police lights happening, so that's happening. But then we wanted like a constant light because obviously the police lights would stop at some point. So again, what's outside? Street lamps, street or the Amaran on his stand right by the window, shining down. I think we lit for the. It wasn't the one by the window, but it was when she turned around in the living room.
yeah,
So it was kind of backlighting to the right side of her face. And then again, I always liked for the scene, not the shot. Obviously, if the shot you need to like move stuff around, of course, but for the most part, you can just move about in the scene and everything should work. So yeah, that did work where we set that main light out. Again, it's blasting through. Looks gorgeous. When she's by the window again, it just works again. You've got the police lights going, so everything works. But yeah, yeah,
yeah. I remember like poor Patrick had to stand outside with the RGBs and the Amaran because I was like
yeah,
I told him specifically this was don't know if this is okay for me, but it is kind of a dodgy area in Belfast.
yeah,
And like I just said to him, look, I don't want any fucking like drunk students or anyone like running up and knocking over that light stand. So you just stand out there in the freezing cold and guard those lights. And I remember like originally his first job was to like turn the RGB. So I wanted like to mimic the movement of like the cop car driving away whenever
going
like
away.
yeah. So the way we I mentioned this to I don't know if I mentioned yeah if I mentioned it in the audio commentary episode I did, which was I had Mateo give the in-ear monitor that he gave me. I told him to give it to Patrick, and then Mateo is going to cue Patrick for when Anya says a certain line. When she says that line, Mateo cues Patrick, and
Yeah,
Patrick turns the light, and he turns it in such a way where
yes,
it instead of just like turning it off, which like which would be like oh like someone just turned the light off. It would like oh like someone turned the light away, so like it looks
yeah, it's
like
actually going away.
it looks like a car is driving away, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So he did that, and then once we did the RGB stuff, like poor Patrick came in, and he's like, "Okay, I'll do a slate now." And I just like I was like looked at him, I was like, "No, you're going out there, and you're gonna guard that C stand." And he was like, "But like I wasn't slating today. No, go out there right now." And he was like, "Oh, dude," and he had to go out in the cold. Poor Patrick. Yeah, Patrick had a rough one for this one because he did that, and he had to do the test film with me. Because I shot a test film, like shot like pretty much almost all the shots I wanted for the film, for the most part, and like a test film, so I could show you because you're away in London. So it gave you an idea of like what type of shots we're doing, and also like I did a brief kind of lighting thing where I kind of showed you what the vibe would be, and you came in and you kind of like amplified that. So yeah, Patrick did that while you were away at the NFTS in London.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with that, you're talking about, doing a shoot before the shoot. That obviously helps you figure out, okay, what do I need, what do I not need, how can I trim this down, how can I add to it. I mean, like you're saying earlier, with my type of style, like working with yourself, working with other directors, like I'm here for you type thing, you know. If you're not happy, then I'm not happy. I can tell you maybe why we can't do things, or we might have to do it in a certain way, which I'm sure I did on the shoot. Where maybe you're looking for one thing, but X, Y, and Z was halting it or wouldn't work camera wise or whatever. Yeah. But again, if you're kind of like I like your style in the sense where you know to a T what you're looking for. So I would say that makes my job easier in the sense of when like a director knows to a T like what they want, you just do what they want type thing, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously with your own expertise and whatnot to then get that. But it's basically like, okay, let's say, okay, I want this shot, I want da 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 da. I just need to do everything to get that shot, you know. It really should just be as simple as that, you know. Like I don't think in the shoot there was any times where I said like we couldn't do anything because of camera or like it just wasn't possible. Because again, with the test shoot, you were able to figure out,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I think it was like
what you needed basically, you know.
there might have just been like I think there's like one exterior wide shot we never done because it would have just took too long to set up and we also didn't really need it. And I think the only time you ever like say we can't do this is just like either like it like breaks the line or just like looks bad, and you just like flat out tell me it's gonna look bad. And he like and you went out, you showed me what the angle would be, and I was like, yeah, that does look bad, my mistake. And then we just moved on, got something better. Yeah, does that?
Like that, it's finding the happy in between. Because obviously, yeah, you could say to me, okay, let's do this. But then in my head, it'd be like, yeah, it's breaking the line, or it might not look good in the edit because of whatever reason, or yeah, like you're saying, it could just be a bad shot. It could be in a dead area when it comes to lighting. Again, if I'm lighting naturally and I need some type of original source, but we are in the complete opposite end of a room with no light and whatnot, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to light or just to make look good. So yeah, it's just find that in between, and those conversations are quick though. You know, it's not like you're constantly arguing. No, do it. It's like, oh no, it look bad. You know, it is just kind of like, look, it's easier just to be honest.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of like tiptoeing and jumping about it.
Yeah.
So just waste time. You know.
Yeah, it also helped like we already had a working relationship because I'd done sound for a bunch of projects we worked on. So I knew like the way you worked, and I knew like like 9 out of 10 times you were right about stuff. So I just like trusted your judgment. Cause it's not like you're never like trying to take the piss by like like, oh, we can drop this shot because we don't need it, and like and you might just say that because like oh, we'll drop this shot because I want to go home really. But like you're never about that stuff. You're always about getting something that'll work and will look great. But yeah, I think the exteriors in my memory were like just like very stressful for me, just because I originally planned it. It was just like I don't like exteriors just because it's an uncontrolled environment and it's just like chaos that I do not fuck with whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it was a very surprisingly busy Sunday night. Because like if we had money, we'd close the street down, but we don't, so we had to film it like guerrilla style. And Dunluce is like it's a weird road because the pavements are so narrow. But like like you can't even walk on the pavements because like the cars are parked on it. So we had to walk down the road, and we had to like go on that road, and we had to spend like an hour or two just like doing shots, and I had to cancel takes just because cars were coming down and people were interrupting and stuff like that. It was just like so fucking. I was getting like.
But yeah.
I was getting really stressed out to the point I had to apologize to Anya like several times just because like I said I'm so sorry for getting stressed out and all this stuff, and Anya's like, no, like it's fine, you're okay, you're okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like again with the outside stuff, again it was like a main establisher. Again, the scene is just her walking down, going to your house, and then seeing it's the opening, title card showing that the police have arrived, and then her getting ready, but to see that. But again, the coverage is her walking down, a tracking shot of her walking down, we caught her opening the door, then the police arrive. So like it is very simple coverage and whatnot. But yeah, with those things of like cars going down, like we might not even be like shooting on the street. But again, if you have cars and
Yeah.
moving outside of that, it distracts everyone. So yeah, like outside stuff is always tricky. But yeah, it was weirdly busy for a Sunday night.
Yeah. I only had a really good reaction, just people walking by talking shit. Because I get annoyed at it, and I look at Anya, like Anya didn't care. And I was like, does that not affect you? And like she just shrugs. So again, it's just like to say another like it's like having an audience, which is like it was very interesting like take, which but yeah, I think the final lighting one was the corridor, like the opening hallway, which like I said is I said to Mercer, I said to pretty much almost everyone, that's like my favorite like scene, my favorite shot in the entire film is this one dynamic master, which is the ending. I do like my dynamic masters. I think they're very cool.
I don't, because it completely destroys my body, because I do not have an easy rig. I mean, that was the first scene we did. Was it day 2?
Day 2, first scene. We did 14 takes.
Yeah. So I remember. Okay, with that, like one shots basically, especially for how long. How many lines we had to get through for that. It is kind of just rehearse until you can just kind of knock it out. But I remember, because it was day 2 at the start. I think you had like some type of like light roof, or there's something above your stairs that was letting in quite a lot of light. So I remember we had to bin bag the doors because there's a little light coming through. And
there was also like there was another like fire escape one. Yeah.
So yeah, start of the day is kind of just blocking stuff out, making everything more or less pitch black. I'm trying to remember if there was an actual house light on in the corridor. I don't.
Oh, you like so pretty much. I understand that you put like an amaranth at the top to mimic like the house light, and then like another light down like right above the stairs just to amplify bits of it.
So there's no practicals or house lights on, but again, the original idea is there would be some type of light on. So yeah, I remember we just put the C stand just on the ground through your kind of like staircase. We call, I can't think of the name, but yeah, basically, banisters. So through the banisters, secure that as good as we can, and again, it's just shining down. Now I like that scene because it's like, it looks real in the sense of that is just a light, so you don't really think about it too much, but B, there is also a slight, not unrealistic, but it is kind of like a really cool shining backlight. It works for the realistic side of things, but also
it looks cool.
The unrealistic. It's like what is the scene here? It's Anya just speaking to camera, and then saying to camera, it's all over type thing, It's a very unrealistic scene, so you can kind of move the boundaries when it comes to naturalistic lighting, and I think we did do that kind of well, where it's like it's grounded in naturalistic lighting, but with a slight unrealistic tone, which just works way better visually, again, especially if it's speaking to camera, you can kind of like a Fleabag style, you can kind of go out of the norm. Like that scene, like you said, 14 takes, was a complete bugger on my arm though. Obviously scheduling's all fine, but like doing something that taxing at the start of the day is tough as hell, Obviously it's better to do it at the start of the day instead of like way at the end and then you're actually really tired, but it like completely takes the strength out of you, especially just like how long we had to shoot for. I want to say there's like 3 different places I had to move, so it's kind of like,
yeah, so like
yes, to right to the middle or something like that.
Yeah, because like I wanted originally it was just gonna be a static wide, and then I thought like no, maybe like the movement would make it more interesting. It does, like the movement does just make it like flow better. But my advice to you, Tom, was just like start weightlifting. Stop complaining. But
I've tried before and it does not work. I'm just gonna keep on carrying cameras, I think.
Yeah, that's good.
Some camera muscles, or just buy an easy rig. But That'll probably be the easiest way.
Yeah, that'd be advice to camera trainees, because I have heard complaints from camera assistants where, like, you know, they will say to their trainees, like, look, I shouldn't have to come to the car to help you, like, carry stuff. So, you know, like,
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like start.
I mean, I feel like I was saying, I was doing a wee BBC pilot as a trainee, and doing trainee work. If you're not able to carry just the equipment, there's obviously equipment that's too big to carry. Like, I mean,
Like, you need like 2-man stuff, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, not upset. But if you're kind of struggling carrying lens boxes and whatnot, you probably do need to do something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I am small and all that, obviously, but I can carry stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, we are running out of time. So last question: what advice about cameras and cinematography would you give your former self?
Oh, cameras. I have to think about that one. What advice would I give to? I guess, yeah, just generally, what advice would I give to my former self? That's a really tricky one.
Don't sell the Komodo.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, okay, well, yeah, I'll say that. So I did sell my camera. Originally, I went down the route of buying equipment. That did turn into a bit of a money pit, as it does, unfortunately. But I sold most of my gear to travel for a year. I'd probably say I really like how shoestring and kind of DIY the shoot was, to the extent where, for example, like we were on Olivia's shoot, where again I am just borrowing stuff from other people. I kind of like that at this stage I'm not having all the things I need. That was the original way I was going about things. I need like every lens, every filter, you know. It'll cost me an arm and a leg and I'll be broke most of the time, but at least I'll have it. But I like that I now don't have it. I guess it kind of... You need to think out of the box. You need to find different ways. You need to find ways to do it for free or for, you know,
No, it's
very,
like
very little.
Michael Caine says, embrace the difficulty and make it like
Yes,
turn it to your advantage.
Yeah, don't get too comfortable with all the stuff. I mean, equipment is one side. Obviously,
It's how you use it.
You have it's how you use it. But like, you could have all the equipment in the world, but if you're kind of like a born Egypt, like, you won't be able to get anything interesting out of it. So if you do have bare bones, limited equipment, but you're able to get something good, or, you know, something interesting, something creative out of that, I think that's more beneficial in the long run. You know, obviously when it gets to the point where you're doing, you know, bigger budget. You've got equipment.
Yeah, you need more stuff.
You know,
yeah,
it'll help you.
Yeah, I think that's us running out of time. So, Tom, just want to say thanks for finally agreeing to do an interview. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming on board for Showtime, and thanks very much in general. Hope to see you and work with you again soon.
Alrighty. Yes. See you later.
Well, that was my interview with Thomas. I hope you enjoyed it. There are more interviews yet to come. Stay tuned. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye.